Will.
Mary Jean Likes. I just got a text from Jay Abbott. I texted him to tell him what was going on, and he said he didn't say that at all, and let the board know that he was not in support of that.
Yes, sir.
My name is Larry Sterling. I'm pastor at East Point Church of God. I echo every pastor's statements here. They've already spoken just about everything on my mind. The biggest issue I see that the community, I'm new to the area. I've been here almost 18 months as pastor. I see a lot of issues that this isn't the forum to go through. But what the trouble that I think we're facing is that with the economic issues of the Bay and all the things that are happening in this community, business owners are looking for other ways to try to supplement and try to figure out a way forward. Well, obviously, this is not a way we want them to go down. So what you have to do as a committee is to shut the door and let them be innovative enough to figure out another way. That's the way that capitalism works. You can go this way, but you can't go that way, so figure out another way. You have to set a vision for where you're going as a board, as what you want. You say you've been speaking about values and family values. Well, then have a vision of tourism that sets that up, that attracts the businesses that you want to be in here. That have a vision for the school system and all the things that need to be upgraded around there and all the things that are going on. Continue to go down that road. But as a community, and a lot of the leaders here in this community, we are standing behind you to be able to help you, encourage you to do what is right, but also to recognize that we also will hold you all accountable for doing what is right. And that my church is not political. I don't let people into my church to run for office or this way or that way, because I believe it's about Jesus Christ. I don't believe it's about any particular person and they're running for office. Right. But we do highly recommend people to vote their moral ideas. And so what we are trying to say is that what we're looking for as a community is, what do we want to dream that this community could be? What do we want this community to look like? What do we want it? Do we want it to go down this road? Do we want it to follow the ideas of Panama City Beach? I mean, I read the news articles as well where the business owners may say one thing, but the actual community members leave the community. From about March 14th on, I won't be going over that direction. I don't have any desire to go to that direction because I don't want to take my children in that direction. If we really think that, I read an article last year. I was so excited to kind of show my family and friends where I live now and where God has placed me, that I'm honored to be here, that we had like the third beach in America. Do you think that's going to last if we continue to go down this road? If reputable businesses like Joyce Estes and others are starting to have to close down, and then we're going to have to supplement that because you guys are an economic issue. You guys are looking for tax dollars. You guys are looking for that. But you've got to cast a vision of where you think this community should be 5, 10, 15 years down the road. What I'm looking at right now is that we got caught off guard by this. I'm making that assumption that you got caught off guard by this because your vision of the community 5 years ago didn't see this coming. Well, now we see it. It's here. Now it's time to stop it. Now it's time to say, this isn't where we want to be and this isn't where we're going. Let's cast that vision. Let's go forward for where we need to be as a community, that I can be proud, that my members can be proud, that our community can be proud of where we are and what's going on, because I believe this is probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever lived in my life, and I've lived all over the country, and I can tell you that it is astounding to me that more people don't live here or want to be here. And then I realized that we are a community without direction. We're a community without this idea of that we can go forward. And so I was going to say a bunch of what Pastor Thimo was talking about with the human trafficking. And so I'm going to leave him to his comments. That's the biggest issue that my concern is. What do I tell my 7-year-old daughter? What do I tell my 9-year-old son? What am I speaking when we go through these issues of that our country is in a fractured pace right now with human trafficking? It's horrific what is happening to our children. We are looking at literally right now, if an 18-year-old and younger, we're looking at 90% of them, or 90, even further than that, I could be 98, Timo, have dealt with pornography. under 18 years old. What that has done is that it has objectified women, it objectifies men, it creates an unstable environment. Your families are broken, all this is happening, and we can stop this. We can at least put the mechanisms in place to prevent this from going forward. And we want to encourage you as community leaders to help us do this, to keep our community the family value community that it's been for the last how many years. So I just want to say thank you for allowing us the forum to speak before you today, and thank you very much for giving us the time to voice our opinions over this issue today.
Brother, we're on your side.
Thank you.
I'm not a pastor, but I am a Christian. And I had planned to come to the meeting today anyway, but when this came about, I made myself get up and get dressed this morning so I could be here specifically for this. It sounds like in listening to Christy and listening to what Michael's saying, that you're kind of at a standstill now. You've got an ordinance that I think they're going to be able to do what they want to do right now. But I would urge you, each one of you, to go ahead today and maybe set a time and start advertising for a new ordinance so that this can be stopped in the future, that we won't be standing here having to say this. I've traveled this state for 28 years as your supervisor of elections, and I was always so proud to say, you know, that our area was so family-oriented, that our beaches were meant for families, not for a venue such as this. And I'm sure that there could have been another venue other than having a male, and I'm going to call it like it is, a male strip show. Maybe they could have brought somebody in to sing or a band or something that would not have this. And how are you going to regulate at your gate as to you're going to keep out? Because there's kids that look like they're over than 21. They have IDs. How are you going to regulate to make sure that it's only people that are over 21 years of age that are attending this event? I don't think that's something that's been addressed, and I think it needs to be addressed as to how this is going to be prevented. And like I say, I've always been proud to say that we're not another Panama City Beach. We're not another Destin. But I'm here to tell you now that if you don't take steps immediately to get an ordinance in place, that we will become the next Panama City Beach, that we will become the next Destin, and we won't be able to go out to the public and our friends and our neighbors and neighboring counties and neighboring states and say, come to our county because it's family-oriented. Bring your kids because it's family-oriented. You have the chairman of the TDC here today. We need to make sure that advertisements for this county are saying, we're not Panama City Beach. We are Franklin County. We're proud of Franklin County, and we want you to bring your families. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dottie Thornburg, and I live on St. George Island. I think the pastors have said the most comments that the island residents that I've talked to agree with. I got bombarded by emails and phone calls yesterday about this event. I'm not a pastor, I'm just an island resident, and I feel this way. I love having the restaurants on the island. I do not agree with this event, and I suggest that anybody who wants to picket or disagree with this event, the event is Friday night, not Saturday night, and that's it. Thank you.
Michael, we need to get with the sheriff and whatever we got to do to fix the ordinance up to get this fixed where it can't be no more.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You still got an ordinance, I mean, you still got a motion and a second on the floor.
I'd like to make a comment. if I
Where
could.
we at?
Could I address the board, please?
Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Billy Rogers. I'm the current county probation officer. And I just want to say I've heard Bay County brought up, and they're exactly right. You do not want what we've got over there. I have seen the county and the town that I grew up with get destroyed. You have a family atmosphere. You have a place where families can come, and you want to protect that no matter what happens. This is a gateway right here. If you let these establishments start running these strip clubs or events, it just rolls over to, next thing you know, you'll have somebody want to open a strip club. And you'll do like Bay County, you'll start having the events at the bars. Next thing you know, you'll have 7 strip clubs in your community. And if you watch the news, it's hard to get, almost impossible to get rid of them. And if those establishments open, they do bring a clientele with them. Just like if you open a casino, they bring a certain clientele with them. Once they do, and every crime you can think of that you can imagine comes with it. I've seen it. I've been in law enforcement 31 years. It not only happens in the establishments, but it spills over into your community too. You have the people that go to these establishments, and then they go home to their families. You have a husband who's upset because his wife went. You have a wife upset because the husband went. You have domestic violence. You have batteries. It just destroys your community. I know I don't live here. I live in Bay County, but I'm just telling you right now, you want to protect what you have here. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Watson.
I want to thank the faith community and the pastors that have come to speak to us. I've gotten more calls and contact on this issue than any other issue that I've had since I've been on the commission. If I had my druthers, I would prohibit this type of activity. But what we're asked to do today is to achieve a balance. We have the sheriff telling us that the ordinance is unenforceable. We have our county attorney saying it needs to be strengthened. I can't support the motion that's on the table right now. I can support and would offer an amendment to the motion to immediately publish the hearings to strengthen this, this ordinance. A lot of the things that were said are very true, and I feel it in my heart. We're talking about a cultural thing, cultural issues. We have promoted Franklin County and St. George as a family-friendly beach, dog-friendly. This type of entertainment does not go with the brand that we want to promote. I agree with the pastor who said that let's look at this as an opportunity for the community to come together to say what kind of community we want. I think it's clear that we feel uncomfortable and are unhappy with the idea that we would have pole dancing and strip clubs and male reviews. It's just not what we are. So that's where I am.
Right. Had a motion and a second. We never voted on, wasn't it?
We didn't never vote on it.
No. And Michael, you was telling us, now what, go back to it on our motion and second?
Well, I'm trying to remember the motion exactly, but I believe the motion was to try, for the board to direct the sheriff to do something that he's already stood in a public meeting and told you that he can't do, that his attorney has told him he cannot do. And I believe that you would be, violating the separation of powers between the duties and the constitutional privileges of the elected sheriff and the elected members of the county commission. You are policy makers. You don't have the authority under the Florida Constitution or any state law to direct the sheriff in how to perform his constitutional duties. So therefore, you know, my recommendation is that the motion, the second, be withdrawn. I heard very clearly Commissioner
I
Sanders
ain't
very
withdrawing
strong,
mine.
but I don't believe that you have the authority to do what the motion is directing the sheriff to do. And I don't think you can do it, and you don't have the authority to do it.
And
under
Mr.
law.
Schuler, it wasn't just to the sheriff, it was to county attorney, county staff, whoever it would take, am I right, Mr. Noah? Whoever it took to shut it down. So, I mean, that was what the motion was. It wasn't just directed to the sheriff itself, it was to the county staff and the county attorney too also, so.
My thing is, I made the motion, and it should, by the time you get through arguing, look like the day will be done past when the thing event gonna be. So, I'm not taking no motion back.
I'm not taking no second back.
Can I offer a substitute motion?
We're not taking no motions. I mean, we're not taking it back. It's gonna have to come down for a vote.
All right, I have a motion second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
I oppose.
Okay, motion carries.
Did you vote for it?
Yeah.
He voted for it.
I'm a little hard of hearing, and I apologize for that, and I'm serious. It wasn't a joke.
No, it wasn't no joke.
What happened?
Motion paid.
Motion passed to shut it down, try to do everything we can to shut it down for the
But-
weekend.
All right, well, we want to thank you very much. I do, personally, our churches do, and if there's legal action against this county, I'll spearhead a fund to support this county. Because I feel today you said it, in God we trust. Thank you.
Yes,
I may
sir.
have a moment. I'm just sitting here thinking of a resolution to this whole thing. It would be a resolution that you, the county commissioners, us as pastors, but also this businessman would have to form an agreement, and he may not even be in agreement of that, but I would ask this question. What is it that he has invested in this that is non-refundable? And if he is feels so strongly about what he has said, and that he would, if he knew it was coming to this, that he would have never done it and he would never do it again in the
That's what he
future.
said. That's what he said.
If there is a monetary amount, and he would say, oh, if you will give me what I've got in it, that I will go through and I'll see that it don't happen. I've said that I won't allow it to happen in the future, but if y'all believe so strongly in it and I support that and I see that, then allow us to come up with a resolution by reimbursing him, not saying we support it, but to squash what is about to take place. And it may not be something that he would agree to. And I've not even asked these other pastors, and I'm sure not asked you about putting money out to squash this, but it's just an idea for a resolution.
Yes, sir.
I don't agree. Sorry.
Take 5. All right, let's take a 5-minute recess and come back.
I'd like to make.
Hold on just a minute. Board of County Commissioners now back in session.
Could I make a motion to start the process to strengthen the ordinance?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to process, Michael, to the ordinance. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. That's all we have to do on this subject, ain't it, Michael?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chair, if I could one thing I should have said, when we were talking this morning about the, with the basketball issue, I think what I should have characterized as my questioning was basically the gentleman is trying to start a league, a basketball league. We've never had a basketball league before. We have a baseball league, we have a football league, we have a soccer league. So our support this morning, I think, could be looked at the times that he's in the initial stage of trying to start a basketball league.
Right.
And yeah, we helped football get started. We've moved out of that phase now. Football has its own league. They generate their own revenue stream. And so I understand now what he was trying to accomplish, but at first, his line of questioning, I did not understand that, so I
And I
apologize.
understand he really wants 10,000, but he's asking us for 5 and the city for 5. But we're gonna do 2,500 for right now.
Okay.
Because we don't do
Right.
5,000 unless you're a national team going to national championships.
But he's trying to league that'll, I understand that now.
I just wanted to clarify what I said so people won't get misunderstood half the time, you don't remember that. But
All right. Michael, will you take over? Ms. Belcher, come up.
Yes, there's been some concerns about that CDBG grant that we have, that's.
for the house,
Yes, ma'am, to
Okay.
rehab the houses. We're getting a lot of complaints, even though we knew this in onset, that they're unable to assist houses that are located within the city of Apalachicola and the city of Caryville. And so because of that, and a lot of people think it's a county rule, and it's not. It's a state and possibly a federal rule, and Ms. Belcher's here to clarify
okay.
the process, the rules, and if and when we could make maybe a waiver or something, if it's possible. And while she's talking, I'm going to hand out the list of people that have contacted her so far about this program. I have it advertised on the website, by the way. It's on the main page. As you open our website, it's right there. So maybe that's where the some of the questions come. Ms. Belcher?
Thank you for taking this. The state of Florida gets this money from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and then they have a competitive process that cities and counties within certain population ranges can apply for the money. And the cities can apply for funding, and in fact, Apalachicola got a grant the same time the county did. Theirs is going to be used on sewer projects, and primarily. And I don't know about Carabel, but the rule that the state of Florida has, which is adopted into the Florida Administrative Code, specifically says that counties cannot do housing rehab activities inside the city limits. So this is a state rule, and I have told anyone who inquired about anything inside the city limits that it is not the Board of County Commissioners rule, it is the state of Florida's rule. They do public hearings each time they amend the rule. The next time they're up for a new rule change, we can ask if they have discretion with HUD to allow counties to work inside cities. But that is the law as it exists now, or at least the administrative code.
So basically, the city of Apalachicola and any applicants from the city of Apalachicola and the city of Carabel would not
Correct.
apply.
Correct. And it is in your policy, it's clarified. One other thing I should probably point out, and I don't expect this to be an issue at all, but there is a federal law about coastal barrier resources, and the barrier islands, we cannot work on those either, except there is an area like on St. George that is not in the protected zone. Again, I don't expect that we would have an income eligible person applying in there, but I did want to let you know that we do have to exclude the areas that are in the Coastal Barrier Resource Act protection zones.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Belcher, I see on this list you have a name here from Leonard Village.
Yes, sir.
That's not a city, right?
Right, right. The only Carabel and Apalachicola are incorporated. East Point is not incorporated, Lanark's not incorporated.
Right. Okay, so they qualify.
They're geographically,
in the
yes,
area,
right,
I'll put it
yes.
that way.
And just to explain this a little bit, what I started doing was, as soon as I started getting inquiries, I started making a list. I think I might have missed one, somebody called and they were not income eligible, and like maybe while I was traveling or something. But the ones that I put on this list, and you'll see the last ones down there are today's date. Those did not actually contact me. Those were referrals from emergency management. I'm working with Tress and with Lori Schweitzer to make sure that we team up on the houses as appropriate, because we did pledge some money from the SHIP program, and it could come from emergency management either way. But so I am coordinating with them as far as applicants that they may have gotten that didn't work out for their program. Well, it might work here, or vice versa. And the ones in bold that you see there, there's 4 names, plus Mark Edwards. I'm going to try to see all of those today. And I told him I might run out of time because I just got him on the phone this morning. I hadn't been able to reach him until now.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question? Deborah, tell me, are you working strictly on mobile homes?
No,
or
sir.
houses?
No, the county's CDBG program can assist either site-built or manufactured housing. You do have a policy that sets limits for how much you would provide to either a mobile home or a house. But we did discuss the fact that SHIP does not work on mobile homes. So we your policy at this stage has a priority system. Like, for example, if we have more qualified applicants than we could assist with the money, well, before we do anything, we have to make sure that we have two that we're going to do in the very low income range, 3 in the low income range, which could include additional ones in the very low, and then the remaining ones can be in what CDBG calls the moderate. Now, those ranges have different names than the SHIP program, so it's a little confusing there. The top limit for CDBG is what's called the low range for SHIP. It's 80% of the median. Okay. So we do, but in order to get the grant, we had to promise that we would do 2 houses in the income range of 30% of the area median or less, and we had to do 3 more in the 50% of area median income or less. And we have to do a minimum of 10 total. So we have to hit that. But if we had more qualified applicants, considering the income ranges and everything than that, then you do have a policy that's, in your policy, it says the ones who have not had assistance before, it's not total assistance, but if they had not had, let's see here, your priority system is, if they have not had more than 5,000 in the past 5 years or 10,000 within the past 10 years from the county or other government programs such as weatherization, then that would be the priority. Now, that does not include loans. I mean, like actual payment loans. That includes, more like the deferred payment kind of a thing. Now, and then within that range, then you get into prioritizing the owner's age 65 or older, the owner's completely disabled, or a completely disabled dependent. Those would be priority factors. As you go, you screen them for the income, and then you screen them for past assistance, and then you screen them for that. Now, if you want to prioritize based on the fact that they have a mobile home instead of a house because the SHIP program can't work on mobile home. Well, I think they've actually changed that rule with the state now, but I'm not your SHIP manager, so I'm not going to speak to that, but you might want to question that.
Hey, Debbie, the reason why we did this, Mr. Chairman, the reason why we did this was to expand to mobile homes, to make sure that more people were available and, getting help and all. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure it's inclusive with all the people, mobile home or home.
Well, that's what it does now. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, if you want to put the ownership of a mobile home as a priority over the houses because SHIP can't assist them. In other words, right now you have different priority factors, okay? If you have more qualified applicants, then you have money to assist. So if you want to say that we're going to prioritize mobile homes because the SHIP program can't, then you can direct me to come back with a policy edit.
I thought that's what we did in the beginning, because we discussed this, excuse me just a minute. Let me speak what I got to say here. Well, I got my mind on it. I'm not trying to be rude or anything. But we talked about all this when we put in for this, and we talked about working on homes, and if it's so damaged that it can't be fixed, we'll build a new home.
Right.
And my comments were, we can take $700 and something thousand and build 4 homes, or we can take $700 and something thousand and help a lot of people in this community that could not get help through SHIP because it was a mobile home. And I know the list here that that was my understanding of where we were already at. And what I'm hearing today is that's not where we're at. And that was my comments here. It's reflected in the minutes and everything else. I honestly think, I only see one person here from East Point, Florida. There are a lot of mobile homes in East Point, Florida that need some work done to them. There are a lot of homes in the 2 mile area of Apalachicola that are out of the unincorporated areas that is included in this grant that needs help. There's people over in Carabel that are outside the incorporated areas that need help. And I understand there's probably some inside too. But this grant was to prioritize what the SHIP program could not do. To me, that was mobile homes. I mean, that was my understanding. I didn't want to spend this money to build 4 new homes for somebody when there's hundreds of people out here that need help.
That's right.
And I understand that you don't have the applications here to reflect that, but I think it's a problem of them not knowing that this grant is available. Because I'm telling you, you can ride through East Point, Florida, and you can find 200 or 300 mobile homes that need some help. But the other thing we said as a board, that's reflected in the minutes also, is that we were gonna be inclusive of the whole county. We were not gonna spend all the money in Appalachia. We weren't gonna spend it all in Carabel. We weren't gonna spend it all in East Point. We were gonna try to use this thing to reach out to all the citizens of the county and try to spread this thing across the county and be inclusive of the whole county. Now, that's what I remember when we talked about applying for this grant. And if any of the other board members have any other recollections, then they can bring that
I
forward.
agree with you, because that's what we did. That's exactly what we did.
I have a question, Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for it.
From what you're saying, we cannot provide the service under this grant within the city limits?
Correct.
Is there a procedure for a waiver or anything like that?
I have never heard of the state of Florida waiving that. Now, I don't know, but to Commissioner Parrish's point, though, there are a lot of people outside the city limits already who need assistance, so.
And I think to address Commissioner Lockwood, during this discussion that we talked about, if we got this grant, we were able to help the unincorporated areas, then we would try to use the SHIP program within the incorporated
Right,
areas,
right.
which is a lot less money,
Yeah.
but we're talking about a lot more people in the unincorporated areas also. So we kind of agreed, a gentleman's agreement amongst the board here, that we would try to look at that, because Commissioner Lockwood's comments was, my whole district's in the incorporated area, and we didn't want him left out of not being able to help his people either. So that was the discussion that we had amongst the board members here. Was, I won't say we exclusively say we would use SHIP inside, but we did, as a gentleman's agreement or a board's agreement, that we would try to help Mr. Lockley address some of his issues within the incorporated area using the SHIP program. And I know we can't mandate that, but that's kind of the discussion we had, as I recall.
Yeah, because I got one that's in my district, they're 70, in their late 70s, and their trailer's falling down. I mean, it's just about gone.
Well,
I don't.
I recollect the same thing Commissioner Parrish does, verbatim what he said. That's what was said, and it was to leverage the SHIP funds for the incorporated areas of Apalachicola and Carabel to where they can be used, but we specifically put Apalachicola too. Because we have got a lot of homes throughout the whole county, like Commissioner Parrish says, that we've got needs here. And that's the reason why we went after the $700-something thousand. So.
That's one of the reasons I didn't complain.
That's right.
I know we had a need over the whole county, but I did question about, if you remember, about the city limit couldn't get them. And then I think I got another question I need to ask you, a couple more, but you can't get it in the city of Appalachia. That's what you told us when you come. Couldn't get it in the city of Carabel.
Correct.
Only the unincorporated area.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but, and for the SHIP program, they can get it in the city limit, but they don't work on trailers in the city limit.
That's right.
Now, I can tell you that the SHIP program doesn't have a prohibition against a replacement of a mobile home with a house, if you wanted to go that route. But that would be a policy issue whether you felt like you had enough money to do that. In other words, the fact that somebody's in a mobile home now, if you wanted to remove the mobile home and build a house with the SHIP funds, as far as the state is concerned, that would not be a problem. Now, at the local level, you may say, well, we're just not going to put that much in any one house. I don't know. That's what the state SHIP program from the very beginning said, we're not going to work on mobile homes. And that was originally, I can tell you, I was involved sort of around the outskirts of when that rule, when the whole program got started. It was backed by the Home Builders and Realtors Association.